Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of EETV, and have a little Cobra Kai theory with Cobra Kai season 3 already being released on Netflix on New Year's Day, and most of everyone who's a fan of the show have already watched it. I do have a theory with Aisha not being in season 3. I do have an idea about how they might bring her back and being able to tie in the next Karate Kid in with this current storyline. In the very first episode, you hear a couple of high school students. When Sam walks in, you hear them speaking about how Aisha's parents did not like everything that happened within the school, and they took Aisha out of school, and they even put their house up for sale, and it's speculated that they moved. Well, what if she moved to a city where um, Julie, portrayed by Hilary Swank, is living? Now, I know in the next Karate Kid, it takes place in Boston, but she was a high school student at the time that Mr. Miyagi was visiting there for the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Um, what if Hilary Swank's character Julie moves to is already established in the city, and that's where Aisha and her parents move to, and she learns karate from Julie. I mean, that I think that'll be a pretty cool way, and they could introduce it in a way just like they had Allie. It doesn't mean that Julie has to be a recurring doesn't have to be a recurring character on the series, but they can have her in there, and that way, when Aisha comes back, she's at the same fighting level as everybody else, because everybody else is still training and they're preparing for the next All Valley tournament. So if Aisha comes back before the tournament, how they gonna explain, because if she hasn't been training or for whatever she learned from Johnny Lawrence, I don't think her parents are still gonna allow her to do, because every all the negative press and all. But what if, yeah, that I think that'd be pretty cool if they had Julie, teach Aisha, and then when she comes back, she can compete because she's been trained. Because Aisha has, she received training from her father, and then she received the rest of her training through Mr. Miyagi when he came to visit Boston. So I think that'll be a nice, cool little thing right there. That's just a quick little way, how they could reintroduce the character of Aisha back into Cobra Kai. I think that'll be pretty cool. And also with this, um, I have one more theory about Mike Barnes. Now I know most of you seen at the end of Cobra Kai that John Kreese places a call, and many people have speculated that the call could be to Terry Silver. Um, my theory is, just going beyond that and how they're going to introduce, how they seem to be introducing more characters from the franchise overall. What if now? It's already been speculated because when John Kreese went to go visit Tory, and he picked up on the vibes of how the landlord was being sleazy to her and trying to pick up on her. When he asked, he said, "What are you, her grandfather?" And he says, "Yeah, something like that." What if he really is her grandfather? That's another thing. What if he really is her grandfather? Because remember, we have not seen, we got a backstory to Kreese, and we saw, Betsy, the girl that he was in love with, and his commanding officer said that she wrapped a car around the tree. Doesn't mean that. What if she was pregnant and she wrote him telling he was pregnant? Remember, we didn't we he just lost all hope after he found out she had passed away. Well, that's what the commanding officer said anyway. and then he defeated him in that combat, and then he dropped his ex-commanding officer into that pit filled with the poisonous snakes and cobras. What if she was still alive and was pregnant with John Kreese's child, and she was writing to let him know? And he just got so depressed. You saw how he was at the end of that scene after the Air Force came and had the airstrike. He was a different man after hearing that she passed away, and after defeating his former commanding officer. I don't and remember no Facebook, no social media back then. Because he was in Vietnam, so one could argue that he didn't even go back to his hometown after he got back from Vietnam. They say, what's the point? Because remember he was bullied when he was there. So he's like, what's the point? I'm not going back there. My girl's dead. And everybody in the town think I'm a nerd and hopeless anyway. So I don't think he went back after that. I really do think Tori is his granddaughter. I really do think Tori is John Kreese's granddaughter. And because remember, we never saw what Tori's mother looks like. We never saw that. So that I'm just throwing that out there. It's not. I know the writers have a way of throwing misconception in there when we thought Ponytail was Terry Silver and it wasn't. I'm just keeping that as a light theory. It's not set in stone, but I'm just throwing that out there. Or I just had another thought, or that Tori could be Mike Barnes's daughter. Remember, she's living on her own. Because remember, Mike Barnes had it hard, man. Remember, he was the bad boy karate. He was making money hand over fist, very famous. After that All Valley tournament, things could have just fell apart because remember, he wasn't allowed to compete anymore after what he did to Daniel and all. So you can see him hitting hard times like Johnny did and not quite recovering from it. And he could be kind of similar to Johnny in that way that maybe he had a child and then it had a falling out with his wife or girlfriend at the time, and then he could also be Mike Barnes's daughter. But I'm just kicking that around. I really do think it'd be Kreese's granddaughter, and I think it'll be more impactful if it's Kreese's granddaughter than Mike Barnes's daughter. But let me know, like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. Um, Thank you for tuning in for another episode of EETV, where we strive to bring you everything in entertainment. Goodbye.